Have you noticed that your Browzwear models are lacking texture quality when you bring them into Substance Painter? I want to help you better prepare your Browzwear files for better texture quality in Substance Painter. So first, let's open up a VStitcher file, and we're going to review some basic 3D terminology. A UV map is a 2D representation of your 3D model's surface, used to apply textures accurately. A UV map will start at 0, 0 on your XY axis and end at 1, 1, forming a perfect square. Browzwear doesn't have a clear 0 to 1 map. It infers a box around your pattern pieces, which leads us to our next 3D term, texel density. Texel density is how much texture detail your model gets. If our pattern pieces are too spread out in the UV space, the texture has to stretch over a larger area, making it look lower quality. When the pieces are packed more efficiently, they get more texture detail, resulting in a sharper, higher quality look. Here's an example of low texel density versus high texel density. So now that we feel confident with our 3D terminology, let's export our model from Browzwear's VStitcher and bring it into Blender. We'll first go to File, Export, name your file, and save as an FBX. I like to include garment inside and thickness to make sure our garment doesn't look paper thin. Under the UV settings, turn on single UV layout for all pieces. You might be tempted to turn on optimized 2D space for better texel density, but I often find that this doesn't give desirable results, so you can leave that alone. The next step is to go to Blender, so go to File, Import, select the format of your exported file, locate your file, and import into Blender. Our 3D model is now in Blender, which means it's time to optimize our UVs and increase our texel density. So here's the steps. When we exported our model from Browzwear, we included a garment inside and garment outside. These will be on different layers, so you'll need to repeat the following steps 2 times. Select an outside piece, choose Select, select Linked, and choose by material. This will select the entirety of the outside garment. We'll now want to switch from Object to Edit mode. The hotkey for this is Tab on your keyboard. With our outside garment in Edit mode, we'll switch to the UV editing workspace in Blender by selecting it from the top menu. In this view, you'll see your model on the right and its corresponding UV map on the left. Let's delete the associated texture map by selecting X, and we'll create a brand new one. Select New, change our generated type to Color Grid, and press OK. Earlier, we were talking about UV maps, but there's something I didn't mention. You can create multiple UV tiles for your garment, called UDIMs. Using UDIMs helps distribute texture detail more efficiently, further increasing texture quality. To add UDIMs, I'll select the pop-out on the side of our editing window. Select the Source drop-down menu and find UDIM tiles. I can now add additional tiles by selecting the plus button and increasing my number. In this case, I'll add 3. We'll make sure that those are also color grid, then I'll select OK. Now I have 3 additional tiles that I can spread my pattern pieces across. My goal is to take up as much space as possible, so I'll select all of my pieces, find the Scale tool on the toolbar on the left, and scale my pieces up so that the largest piece fits inside one UV tile. I'll need to start moving my pieces around, so I'll find the Move tool on the toolbar and start fitting my pieces into place. I can select individual pattern pieces by hovering and pressing L on the keyboard. I can now move those pieces around. As you arrange your pattern pieces, keep a few things in mind. Avoid crossing from one UV tile to another, as this can cause issues in your 3D file. Make sure all pieces fit within the tile boundaries and don't extend past the edges. If you need to scale down your pattern pieces, scale everything together to keep consistency. Once you've finished on the outside, let's head back to our layout window and repeat the same steps for the inside. We'll select an inside pattern piece, choose Select, select Linked, and choose Material. Now I can enter Edit mode and head back to my UV editing window. In my UV editing window, I can repeat the same steps as before. You'll need to pay special attention to any trims you have in your file. So let's edit the UVs of our buttons all together. I'll hold Shift and grab all of my buttons at once. I can now enter Edit mode and head back to my UV editing window. You'll notice that the pattern pieces we had from before don't exist for our button, and this is because we need to create a UV map for it. On the right side, drop down your UV map tab and select the plus button. Now we'll see geometry appear in our UV editor. I'll select everything, go to the UV dropdown, and choose Smart UV Project. This tool automatically creates a UV layout when the existing one doesn't match the model well. It's a quick way to get a cleaner result. Now we can see our button. Make sure to scale down your button so that it's not overlapping with the edges or the other UV tile. Now that our 3D model is all prepped and ready to go, let's export it from Blender and bring it into Substance Painter. Select your 3D file and find File, Export, FPX. Now I can name my file, find the right folder, and press Export FBX. In my Painter window, I'll select File, New, and locate my file under File Select. You can change your document resolution in the open window. For higher resolution, bring it up to 4096. You should also have Use UV Tile Workflow selected. You'll press OK, and your file will load in your Painter window. I can now check on my UV window by selecting the 3D-2D window split. I can look through my texture sets on the right side to see the work I just did in Blender. Now, the ultimate test. Let's drag an SBSAR material onto my new jacket. The texture quality has greatly improved with this method of adjusting our UVs in Blender. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped.